So I believe we are right here. Does that look right for the notes? Okay. So I might go back and just review the two rules that we learned yesterday. If you remember, the first one we learned was when the two things intersected inside the circle. And then what we did is we'd say the measure of angle 1 equals 1/2 times this arc plus this arc. Okay, so that's if they are inside the circle. The second rule is the one that I think is easiest, and that's when you either have two tangents or two secants, or I'm sorry, a secant and a tangent. What happens there is that angle is treated just like an inscribed angle that we learned before. So this is half of that arc. Angle 1 is half of that arc. So that would be if they're inside of the circle. And then this is what we're learning today, is when they intersect outside of the circle. And so in this case, when you're finding the measure of angle 1, it would be 1/2 times the furthest away arc, which is x, subtract the nearest arc, which is y. Okay? So you always go 1/2 times the furthest away arc minus the closest. And then we're gonna have a couple like this too, where you have two tangents to this circle. And what would happen here is you would take this, and let's just say that that was 260, okay? What do you guys think this would be? 100. Because really what happens here when they touch the outside is you still have that entire circle then. So if this one's 260, the other one would be 360 minus 260, which is 100. Okay? So that's the new rule that we're gonna go to do today. This, you could say, is maybe the hardest of the three. But it doesn't matter if you have two secants, and remember secants are when they touch the circle twice, whoops. But you always go 1/2 times the arc that's furthest away minus the arc that's closest. Here, furthest away minus the closest times 1/2. And then, like I said, two tangents, you're going to intersect nothing. Your arcs that are left are going to be the entire circle. And you have to realize that if this one was 190, this one, which that doesn't even look right, let's say 290, this one would be 360 minus 290, which would be 70. Okay? So if we look at our first one here, what I'm gonna do, the measure of angle R is gonna be 1/2 times the furthest away arc, which is 120, minus the closest arc, which is 40. So then I'm gonna go 1/2 times 120 minus 40 is 80, and then half of 80 is 40. Okay. Then if I look down at this one, again, here I'm finding angle U. So it's going to be 1/2 times. Could we figure out what this part of the circle is?
Yes.
How?
Subtract 114 and 60 from 360 to get that last bit.
Or you could add these and then subtract that from 360, either way, okay? 144 plus 60 is 206, and if I subtract that from 360, I get 154. So what this would be is 154, and then over here it'd be 1/2 times 154 minus 60, which is half of 94, which would be what, 47, I believe? Okay. All right, now, if I look at this one,
What did you say it, 360 minus 204 is?
did I do that wrong?
I got 156. If I
Oh,
take
yeah,
360.
this should be 4. I did 6. You're
Oh,
right.
okay.
Oh, that isn't what I want to erase, it's this. So 360 minus 204 would be 156. And then this would be 156 minus 60, which would give us 94. Okay, so 156 minus 60 is 96, which is 48. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, when we go to do this one, this is where if you know one arc of it and it's cut by 2 tangents, you can find that red arc, and how would we do that? Yep, so I'd go 360 minus 102, which is 258. Okay. And then the measure of angle L would be 1/2 times 258 minus 102. Okay, so then I'd go half of, what would that be, 156? And half of that would be 78. Let me know if I am saying that wrong. I believe that's what it would be. Okay. Now if I go down here, could I find this little arc right there? Yeah. I could add these 3 together and then subtract from 360, right? 100 plus 72 plus 140 is like 240 plus 72, which is 312. And then if I go 360 minus 312, did you get 48? So this is 48. And then I can come over here, and the measure of angle K would be 1/2 times the furthest away arc, which is 72, minus the closest one, which is 48. Now, 72 minus 48, is that 54? No, 24. 24, is that what you guys got? And then half of that is 12. All right, so if I look at this, do you guys know how much this would be? Yes. Isn't this a diameter of the circle because it goes through that emphasized center? So that means this arc plus that arc is going to add up to 180. So like Lexi said, then this length is going to be 180 minus 45, which is 135. Okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the measure of angle S is 1/2 times. The furthest away arc is 135. The closest arc is 45. So that would be half of 90, which is 45. Okay. Then if we look down here, the way that this one is different is they're looking for our QTS. I can't find our QTS by subtracting 106 from 360 because I don't know what this little arc down here is, okay? If I knew both of these, I could add them together and subtract from 360, but I don't. So what happens there is we have to use algebra. So when you do that, you always take that outside arc, or angle, sorry, equal to 1/2 times the furthest away arc is what I'm looking for, minus the closest arc is 106. Okay? Now the way I show this is if you have that 1/2 in front of parentheses, I multiply by 2. 2 times 71 is 142. This is gone, and then I have x minus 106, and then I can add 106. This would cancel, and x would be 248. Okay? Now again, you could put that back in here, and you could say, like, if this is 248, and I went 1/2 times 248 minus 106, would I get 71? So you can always check your answers here to make sure that you get it right. Okay? Now let's go to this page here. Okay? Now this time I don't know this arc, so I'm going to call that x. And again, we're going to have to use algebra. So I'm going to say that angle is equal to 1/2 times the farthest away arc, which is 59, minus the closest arc, which is x. Again, I multiply by 2 on both sides because I like to get rid of that half. 2 times 15 is 30, and that equals 59 minus x. I'm going to leave that minus x where it is, and I'm going to bring the 59 to the other side. This would be negative 29 equals negative x. Divide by negative 1, and x is a positive 29. Okay. Now if we go down here, this one is harder because they don't give us what this arc is or what that arc is. But what they do ask us for is the measure of arc CE right here. Okay? Now think about this. If this was 100, how would you find that arc? From 360. So if this is 100, wouldn't this be 360 minus 100? This was 200, we go 360 minus 200. So what if it's x? What would that be? 360 minus x. Yes. To find this out here, if this is x, you would just say it's 360 minus x. Just like if that was 100, we'd go 360 minus 100. Okay? Now, when I do this, I always set the angle equal to 1/2 times 360 minus x, and then I also have to subtract this x. So it's 360 minus x minus x. Everybody understand that? Okay, now again, if I'm trying to get rid of that half, I'm going to multiply by 2, and I would get 104 equals, this is gone, and that's 360. What's minus x minus x?
Minus 2x.
Very good. Minus 2x. Now I'm going to bring the 360 over by subtracting 360. 104 minus 360 would be minus 256, I believe, equals negative 2x. Then I divide by a negative 2, and x is 128. Is that right?
That was right, yeah.
Alrighty. Now, let's look at this one, okay? So again, when you have something like this, you have to use algebra. When you have an x in your problem, in this case more than one spot. So what I'm going to do is set up my equation and then use algebra to solve it. And it's always that angle, which in this case is 4x, equals 1/2 times this arc, which is 9x plus 26, and then I'm going to subtract this arc, which is 35. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is get rid of that half by multiplying by 2. 2 times 4x is 8x equals 9x. Now I have a positive 26 minus 35. Isn't that going to be negative 9? Minus 9? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is bring this 9x over here and leave the negative 9 here on the right side. 8x minus 9x is negative 1x, and that equals negative 9. Divide by negative 1, and x is a positive 9. And then you can put that 9 back in here. 9 times 9 is 81 plus 26, 107, correct? And then 4 times x is 36. So you could check, is 36 equal to 1/2 times 107 minus 35 would be 72, and it is. So you can check your answers there. Okay, this one is the hardest kind you're gonna have. This is also our last problem. So if I were you, I would write this one down. So here's the deal. Our angle 3 is equal to 1/2 times. The furthest away arc is 5x minus 6. And now I have to subtract something in parentheses. Now, if you don't put that 4x plus 8 in parentheses, my guess is you'd all get this wrong. I think a lot of you right here would say minus 4x plus 8. Would a lot of you do that? But when you're subtracting something in parentheses, you have to change the sign of the 4x and the 8. So it would be minus 4x minus 8. Do you get that? You have to change the sign on both the 4x and the 8. So it would be 4x minus 8. And that minus sign is what most kids would get wrong. So now what I'm going to do here is multiply by 2, and I'd get 6 equals, now I'm going to combine this. 5x minus 4x is x, negative 6 minus 8, what's that? Negative 14. So this is minus 14, add 14, and x is 20. Okay? Alright, so your assignment for today, this just goes over those 3 rules again. And then here is your assignment. so you have these problems to do on that worksheet from yesterday, and then this to do in the book. And you can do it all in one, okay? Did everybody get it done? Copied?